Welcome. This is the talk after lunch, right? So everybody's sleepy. No one can think of food anymore because you just ate something, right? But this talk is titled, Okay, Gemini, what's for dinner? I am Maia Grotepass. I'm an Android engineer at Conto. And I'm speaking with...
Ivan. Hi, droidcon Berlin. I am a software engineer at Pinterest, and I'm so excited to stay in front of you today and share what we have been working on.
All right, clicker doesn't work. Yes, so both Ivan and I recently started at a new job. Now, all of you know that when you start at a new job, there's a lot to learn. Your head is full of everything except what you want to eat for dinner. And then when you walk home, you see these photographs of takeaways, and you know that the only thing you have in your fridge is a tomato. So how can you go from this delicious-looking takeaway, from the tomato to the delicious-looking takeaway? So we decided to build an app for that. We know about the Gemini LLMs that are out there, and we know how to build apps on an Android device, but we don't know how to speak to these LLMs. They're these strange LLMs in the cloud, and we want to use them, and we want to use Gemini because we're building a multimodal app. So it's an app that passes up a question and an image into the LLM. So we did some research. Now, what I want to say is it's very white and foggy there now because this landscape is changing. It's changed in the past 6 weeks, and the past week, this whole landscape's changed in the libraries that you can use to do this. So the first thing you can do is you can go to aistudio.google.com. This is easy. It's free. There's a free tier. There's an SDK. There isn't a KMP SDK. There's a wizard in Android Studio. This is fantastic. Very easy to do, except you can't access it in Europe because there was some other GDPR thing about where you keep your data, blah, blah, blah. This has changed recently, but when we started looking at this project, we couldn't use this easy option. When you use the easy option, the first banner that comes up is Google suggests that you use Vertex AI. Now, Vertex AI is a cloud function that you can use to access these LLMs. It does not have an Android SDK. It has some Python library, and it's got a REST API. Now, REST isn't a problem for us. We're writing a KMP app. We can just use Ktor, and we can just access the REST. But in the meantime, this has become free now. So if you wanted to try this, you could most certainly try and use AI Studio now. But there is another way to do this as well. In the middle of May, Firebase announced an SDK with which you can access the Gemini LLMs using Firebase. It used to be Firebase with extension functions, but now you can use Firebase, and Firebase will then route all of your calls through to Vertex AI to access the LLMs. There is another way yet. So this is Gemini Nano. It's fantastic because it runs on the device. It doesn't cost anything. Where Vertex AI, you have to give your credit card and they charge you per API call. The Nano, you won't be charged. Why did we not use this? Well, the Gemini Nano LLM is only shipped on Pixel 8 and Samsung high-end, whatever the number is for that. So that would be fine if you have a Pixel 8, but I don't know if you've got a Pixel 8. So,
I don't.
No, exactly. Also, it's an EAP at the moment, so we couldn't have accessed it anyway. So suffice to say, we went with the Vertex AI and REST approach. Now, okay, let me just go back here. The Vertex AI approach needs you to pass in a token to access the API. And yesterday, there was a fantastic talk on how to deal with these API tokens and how to access the LLMs in a safe way. So I want to suggest that you watch Marcel Pinto's talk on how to actually do this if you get to that point. Before we started writing any code, we wanted to see if it actually works. Like if the idea that we had, take a photograph of the takeaway, make a prompt, will that even work? Because what we wanted to do was slightly different to the normal example. We wanted it to give us a list of groceries which we could go and buy, and then it would give us a recipe. So now I'm going to jump into the dashboard, and I'm going to show you the prompt very similar to the prompt we're using in our app. And what I want to point out for you, okay, there is the prompt. It is something like, given the image of a takeaway dish, write a recipe that is suitable for a home cook because we don't want something specialized, and includes the following ingredients. Then you enter the ingredients, 3 ripe tomatoes, and then provide a grocery list of additional ingredients with their quantities in metric, which is needed for the recipe. Exclude the ingredients I have listed already. And then if we submit this prompt, you should see that the answer comes back. So it's taken that picture, the picture on the first slide. It's proposing loaded nachos with ingredients and instructions. And in fact, it will give us the grocery list at the bottom shortly. So while it's still thinking, because that's the other thing these LLMs do, they think a little. Here you can see where you can set where your data is stored. Oh no, here you can see what model to use. So we're using the Gemini Flash model. It's supposed to be quick. It still takes a few seconds. And it's supposed to be an all-purpose model, which is why we chose Gemini Flash. And here, this Europe West, that's where you say where your data gets stored. The other thing to note here is this temperature. That's how creative the model is in thinking up the answers. So if you set it to 0, it's going to be less creative. And if you set it to 2, it's going to be more creative. Let's see. Okay, it's still running. Okay. The other thing to know from here is there's this get code button, which is super useful because Python, that's not useful. No, Java, curl. Curl is useful because you can actually see exactly what the HTTP call is that you need to do to get the information from the LLM. Is this finished? Wow, this one's taking
Stuck.
forever. Is it stuck?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll leave it stuck there in its own world. Okay, so now we've proved our point. We've proved that we can make the LLM give us the right answer that we need for our app. And now it's demo time. Okay, what can go wrong? We are demoing with my personal device on conference Wi-Fi, and we're going to rerun the app now, and we're going to see. So how this goes is, what did you have for lunch? Did you go to the food trucks? What did Ben have for lunch? Salad. That's not a takeaway, so we don't have a picture of salad here. Chicken.
Chicken.
Pizza. Wait, no. What do we have? What do we have?
Have this one.
This one's
Chicken.
healthy. That's closest. Chicken, salad, broccoli. Should we try that one? Okay. So what do you have in your fridge? One thing, one item in your fridge. Okay, courgettes. Courgettes. Okay. You can see this is live, right? I won't take a picture of you. Let's take a picture of the food here. Take photo. Now, what can go wrong here? Well, the difference of the prompt in our app and on the dashboard is we ask it to return JSON. Now, LLMs are sometimes a little bit strange. They sometimes do weird things. So there is a chance that the JSON that it gives back is not right. What we've got here, though, is a different error.
Access token. Access token.
It's the access token, all right. For the access token, because this is Vertex, we have to regenerate the token. I have a little script. You can get it in the repo, and we'll run it again. Okay, let's try again. Okay, wait, no, we need to type in courgettes first, right? Courgettes. All right. Okay, lift the photo. It's upside down even. Do you think the LLM's going to share? I don't know. Let's see. Take photo. All right. So, okay, so that first error you saw was an access token, and the Vertex AI needs an access token. And the SDK, the Firebase SDK can help you with sorting all of that out. The second thing that can go wrong is that it gets the JSON wrong. So we'll have to wait and see if it's going to get the JSON wrong. And it didn't. It worked. All right. So you can see on the left, we have the list of groceries that it's suggesting: vegetable oil, onion, sliced garlic, whatever. No courgettes appear in the list of groceries. And the recipe is chicken and broccoli stir-fry with courgettes. Okay? We have the ingredients, we have the steps. I think it's putting broccoli and courgette to the skillet, cook until tender, crisp, about 5 minutes. So super useful. Okay. Now, should we do another one?
Let's go with spaghetti.
We'll go with the spaghetti. Okay, so now I want to know, are there any Italians in the audience? We have some Italians in the audience. Okay, so there's a trigger warning coming up for Italians. So you all know about the famous pineapple pizza. We're not going there. The Italians are all used to the pineapple pizza. We are going to do something completely different. What we have here is a lovely picture of a lovely bowl of pasta ragu. And what I have in my fridge at the moment is a banana. So you can imagine banana bolognese. It's okay, dear Italian people, you can put your fingers in your ear. Now the question is, what are we going to do? What is the LLM going to do with banana and bolognese or ragu? Let's see. It can do various things, right? It can put the banana in the sauce. No, too terrible to contemplate. It can just ignore the banana completely. Maybe it's going to do that. I did put the creativity of that LLM quite high, so it might be kind of creative with us. It might crash. We might get one of the other two errors. And we've got ground beef, onion, garlic, okay. Looks right, tomato, oregano, okay, cool. Black pepper, parmesan, a package of spaghetti. Sounds good. Spaghetti with meat sauce, all good. It's got one banana in the bottom. But now what is it going to do with this banana? Let's see. I don't see it. Do you see it in the recipe? Yes. It didn't put it in the recipe at all. So which is like, so I've done this before. What it sometimes does, it says, slice the banana and put it on top. And sometimes it says, slice the banana and serve it on the side. So, I mean, in this particular case, it actually decided.
We are saved this time.
We saved this time. Okay, so that's enough of the demo. Now, oh, failed to submit prompt. Yes, okay. Now, let's see what's next. Now I'm going to hand over to Ivan to speak about tools and frameworks.
Yes, thank you. These live demos always make me nervous, but hopefully we're safe now. Let's start with tools and frameworks. Currently, there are two IDEs designed for Kotlin platform development, Android Studio and Fleet. Well, there is no right option. You can pick whatever you want, like both of them have their cons and pros. Android Studio is a well-known solution with good auto-completion tools and quick fixes, while the Fleet IDE is currently in preview and designed for the collaboration. I prefer Android Studio, Maia used Fleet. Let's move to the architecture and start with the tech stack. Our application is written entirely in Kotlin with Compose, so it's 100% Kotlin is platform viable, both for Android and iOS. We use Gradle Kotlin DSL and Jetpack Compose as a UI library, Ktor for network requests, Kotlin serialization. Among all options under consideration, we picked the Peekaboo library, which has the most stars on the GitHub to take images or pick them from the gallery, and the build config library to use build time variables within the code. Kotlin Meets Platform gives you the freedom on decide how much code do you want to share. You can share a single piece of logic, for example, a kind of module. You can share the entire logic layer completely, but keep the benefits of native UI. Or you can share 100% of the code with logic and shared UI written in Compose. We went with the third option. So our architecture is simple and straightforward. Composable functions which hold the reference to the view module which receives the UI events of user and have an observable flow of UI event. Then use case which contains the main business logic. In our example, it is responsible for encoding and making the prompt, and the Vertex service which fires the request to the Google Cloud. On the right, you can see the directories. So it's a Compose app, which has the common code, then Android main with the actual implementation of HTTP client iOS main, which has the HTTP client implementation on iOS, and the iOS app package, which is the entry point for the Android application. But now, let's jump to the IDE to see what this actually looks like. Let's start with the build Gradle file. So here you can see a list of supported targets and their dependencies, and our custom script to provide the token of Google Cloud into the Vertex service. Here is the token script that Maia mentioned. It simply executes the Google Cloud command to read the access token and writes it and starts the build. All right, then let's move on to the main activity, which is the entry point of our Android application. It simply invokes the main screen composable. Here you can see the UI of our application. As I mentioned, I'm following the approach to keep the view dummy, to make it only observe the UI state from the view module and call the user events on the view module. When the image is taken, we simply invoke the function in the view module to get recipe. We launch a coroutine, update the UI state, invoke the use case, and handle the result appropriately. In the use case, we encode our image, make a prompt. So we just concat the strings and tell the LLM what to do, and make a request in our service. Here we configure the endpoint to access our application on Google Cloud. We set up all necessary headers. We make the body of the request and then just handle the response. We specify the prompt and the generation options within our application. I guess that's it. Let's talk about gotchas and tip in tricks we collected throughout our way. Use Vertex dashboard and command line interface to debug prompts and requests. Number one advice is do not spend your time and resources on what won't be working at all. So test your hypotheses, your ideas on the Vertex dashboard, and only then start engineering. You can use command line interface to fire curl requests and debug your requests and responses from the Vertex AI, because I noticed some kind of lack of documentation. Then my personal advice is to use online tools like base64 converters to debug your image encoding. You can take a placeholder image, test it first on the Vertex dashboard, then use it in the command line interface, and only then test it in your mobile application. The third observation is K2 compiler, which came out to production recently, and it was blazingly fast. I was surprised why my build is so fast. So the advice is to switch to K2 as soon as possible. And to write data transfer object schema, I used the get code function on the dashboard, which Maia showed you. Then you just copy this request, you get the response, and you can feed it up to the plugin, which generates the DTOs for you, which makes it simpler and quicker. Maia, over to you.
Yeah, so the question now is, how much does this cost? Because we had to give our credit card into the Vertex AI cloud machine. So how much does this cost? So before I talk about how much this costs, I want to just talk about tokens versus characters for a moment. So for LLMs, they talk about tokens. This has got nothing to do with the billing. Tokens are just like, how big is my prompt and how can this prompt fit into the question that I'm asking the LLM? On the other side, there is the characters. So that's the actual characters in the prompt and the number of characters in the answer that it gives me. So how much did it cost? I'm going to switch to this thing here and show you the billing screen. So typically it costs me like 3 US cents per month about. So that's just me and Ivan messing around. So this is just 2 users. It's predicting that we'll be using 17 cents next month, but probably we won't because we might not even be making any more calls next month. The other thing I can tell you about the cost is there's a place here on this billing cloud platform interface where you can set budgets and alerts. And here I just put in $25 US. So it's going to cap at $25 US so that it means that even if someone steals the API key or something weird happens and I make 1 million requests, it's going to block after $25 US. And so it's not going to break my bank. So this is really useful for small little apps where you can just mess around with things. Then, what else did I want to say about the billing screen? I think that's it. What I'll show you now is how to calculate the different costs. So this is the page that's from the page in Google that gives you the prices. We only used image, text, and text. So that's the price if you add 1 image into your prompt. That's the price if you add per 1,000 characters for the input, and that's for the output per 1,000 characters. I just did a quick calculation here, added things up, took 1K of prompt information, 2K worth of output, and it came out to 0.0010065 US cents per call. That's per API call, just to give you an idea. The other thing I want to say is that you need to preload some money onto the Google Cloud because it tried to bill me for 1 US cent, and my credit card company said, no, you can't be billed for 1 US cent. And then Google said, I didn't pay my bill, and then it blocked even when he was testing. So it's better to just like put some money on there, $5 or $10, put that on there because also with the $10 that we put onto Google Cloud, it means we would have, for our kind of usage, we would have 9,935 API calls, which means that if Ivan and I asked for a recipe once a day, for every day of the year, we could use the $10 for the next 13 years. Now, this feels like a really weird and silly example, but this is the kind of example that you can use to calculate what your costs are going to be for your prompts when you start getting users for your app, once the app starts getting popular. The other thing to mention is that we did not train any models. We used the standard models that were there. They're really good with recipes. You can all see they didn't put banana in the bolognese sauce, so that's completely fine. The minute you start training models or looking at the costs for training your own models, then the prices can actually go up. I didn't do any calculations for that, but that's just something to mention. And then now a summary.
Right. So, what are the main points of our talk? We think that server-side LLMs will still prevail, despite of big announcements by Google and Apple and Gemini Nano, because all of you saw these charts with exponential growth of complexity of the parameters numbers of these LLMs. And you saw how many seconds it takes on the Google Cloud to actually generate the response. So we think that built-in LLMs won't keep up with the complexity of our requests. Then the main advice is to not make users to have a lot of input, like give them just a text field and to enter the ingredients and wrap it up with your predefined prompt to make the best user experience and specify what kind of output you want from the LLM. And it's really easy to build multi-platform apps with Vertex AI and to integrate LLMs within your application. So we think that after our talk, you can go home and make your ideas come true. And what is next for us? The solution that we showed you have a few limitations. First of all, To update the prompt, we have to make a release to Google Play if our app was released. The better approach is to leverage a Google Cloud function or some kind of service and to be like a middleman between the application and Vertex AI to make it possible to adjust prompts on the backend side, to filter out bad input, and to be cost efficient. Use Amper to configure build scripts. That's a new tool released by JetBrains that even more simplifies the Kotlin platform development and the target setup.
Okay, so that's what's next for Ivan. For me, I want to see if I can build a desktop version, because that would be really useful if I were sitting at my laptop and being able to get a recipe for what I want to eat for dinner. And also I want to improve the UI and actually package the app up so that I can actually share it with other people and have them enjoy the benefits. So now the question is, that was what was next for me and Ivan. What's next for you? You can scan that QR code and get the repo, or go to that URL and get the repo. Then you can either read up on AI Studio or Vertex AI for Firebase, or look at the Vertex AI pricing, or look at the Vertex models. All of those links are in the slides. And if you go to the repo, the PDF of the slides are in the root directory of the repo. And at that point now, we're ready for questions.